Welcome back and thanks for tuning in. This is now video 13 for Just Make It, and today is going to be the first video in a series which is probably only going to be 2 videos long. I am going to put together a drawer organizer. Now this one's going to be out of acrylic, the next one's probably going to be out of 1/4" ply. And the reason why I'm starting off with acrylic, it is something I work with an awful lot, so I'm quite familiar with it, and also it'll be very easy to put together. The reason why I want to do the wooden one is just so you guys can have a comparison of the work involved in each of them and how long it takes. For acrylic, it is very simple. It's just a simple matter of cutting all the pieces and then welding them all together. Now, one of the advantages of acrylic is it's clear. So the drawer organizer is going to sit on a couple of slides at the top of the drawer, and you can move it back and forth. But the nice thing about it is you can see through down into the bottom section for any materials that are there. And again, everything will be quite visible, and because I work with it a lot, very easy to put together. So I'm not going to make anything too robust here. It's just going to be 1/8 inch, and it should be more than enough for the materials I want to put in this. It's going to go in one of the finished drawers. I'm actually in the process of putting together 4 more drawers because I do want to add a lot more drawers to this station. But for the moment, it's just going to go in kind of a general tool drawer, but an awful lot of those tools are ones I work with acrylic. So I want this drawer organizer to be able to sort out and keep a bunch of the small finicky bits that I'm going to have there. So that's actually the main reason for it. And the other one, I actually haven't decided what I'm going to do with it yet, but again, it's just going to be a comparison, and drawer organizers are always an easy thing to find uses for, so I don't think it's going to be a problem figuring out what I want to do with that. So to waylay, the usual comments I get when people see me using a table saw and acrylic, the table saw blade has to be set up high. Now if you set it up the way you do for wood, the blade when it impacts the acrylic, especially 1/8, it'll impact it at a very low angle and has a tendency to lift it up a bit. Sometimes not very much, but it is enough sometimes to ruin the weld, where it won't get a nice firm weld. It will still hold together. It'll just have a lot of bubbles in the seam, and it's just something I tend to avoid. Now the other thing I'm doing here for this particular build, I was planning on these drawers being 2 inches in depth, these organizers. But I had a bunch of scrap, and I think the thinnest one is about a little over 1/8 of an inch thinner than 2 inches. So what I'm going to do here is I'm not going to worry about it. It doesn't matter. So what I'm going to do is set the blade, or the stop for the blade here at the thinnest one, and then it's going to run them all through. Now when I use this sort of thinness, like when the blade gets closer to where the stop is, I use a piece of wood here. I do intend on making a much more firm way of doing this. This is perfectly secure. It's just not as comfortable to hold as something if I make it have a proper handhold and all that sort of stuff. That is a build that's going to come up, and you'll notice there just what happened just now is sometimes when you back the blade off, that thin sliver will fall down in the crack, and of course I just turn the blade off and fish it out, so it's not a big deal. And the reason why I'm flipping this one all around, and you're going to see it come up in a little later clip as well, thin acrylic like this has a tendency to warp, and that particular piece, and I think one other, has a fair curve to it. So I wanted to make sure that curve was facing, well, the curve part, like the hill part, was up, so when I put the weight of the piece of plywood on top of it, it bent it down nice and straight. If I had done it the other way around, the end tail bit would lift up a little bit, and then again I have the same problem of it chattering a little bit on the teeth until it gets further in. It just saves those little bits of nicks, and I have never really had a piece break in the saw, but I definitely want to avoid that. So this is going to be a quick weld up. Those of you who watched my other channel have seen me do this many times, and there's no real difference here. The order in which I do it is a little bit different because there's going to be internal dividers in this, and most of the other stuff I do does not have a lot of that. So what I'm going to do, I put up the first 2 pieces here, and what I'm going to do now is put in the center divider. That way I can decide where I want it to go, and also make sure it's nice and square. Its positioning is really not that critical. I just picked one of the tools that will be going in here, and it's a little under 6 inches, so I'm using the set square here, and I'm just going to set that at 6 inches. And that makes the other one, see now this is about 13 and 5/8 I think in total. It'll make the other one, well, about a little over an inch bigger than this one, so I'll have lots of space. The original I had planned on putting in 3 little trays in the well, in the divided section there. It just made them too small. I definitely want this to be functional. And there is the other section where it turned out that the curve was just too much to fiddle with. It's easier when you have a straight edge you're gluing to, but in this particular case, because it's in the middle, there's nothing to align it to. So what it is, I cut a small piece of plywood, and it is the same thickness as the divider, and it gives me something to lean this up against to make sure it stays nice and straight. That's all. It's very straightforward and easy way to do this. And because it's out of plywood, it will not adhere to the acrylic. And I just slide it up there to make sure it stays vertical. Wait till it sets a little bit. Move it down here, and then weld that up as well. Now you notice there'll be a couple of gaps here and there as I'm doing this, because I'm doing it fairly quickly because I want to make sure everything's in place and it's where I want it to before it sets firmly. I'll just go back and add a little bit more methylene chloride to finish it up. And there you go. That's it. Just a matter of putting on the end piece now. I am going to cut a couple of 1/4 inch sliders for this. I wanted to make them as thin as possible because I don't want to take up too much of the internal drawer space. So when I made this organizer, I made sure it was reasonably snug so that there is not enough play that a 1/4 inch, if it slides, it will fall down. So it's going to be, it'll slide nice, but it is definitely going to take up the entire inside of the drawer. And that's it. That's the reason why I wanted to do this. I wanted to show it to you. That's as simple as that is. I think the entire fabrication process was a little over half an hour. And obviously when I do the wood version, because I'm going to have to do rabbets, it is going to take a little bit longer. But what I'm going to do is I'll save that video for next week, I suspect. And you can do a comparison for yourself. For me, this is probably the way I would like to make drawer dividers or sort of organizers for pretty much everything that I do, because it is lightweight, clear, and very easy to put together. So I'm going to glue these on, clamp them up, and that's pretty much the end of the video here, because I want to show you how it slides, of course, and how it fits. Next week when I do the other one, I will show you this one loaded up, and then you can see them side by side. It'll be a nice comparison, and the wooden one obviously will get some use. The advantage of wood over acrylic is acrylic will scratch, and in time will probably look less nice. And the sand, of course, you can sand off wood and make it look better again. Anyway, they both have their advantages, and it'll be up to you to decide which one you prefer. So I know which one I like simply because of the ease of putting it together. So that's it. That is the video. The last clip will be me just putting it in here. Leave comments. Let me know what you think as always. I definitely answer my comments. And if you have suggestions for other builds, definitely let me know about that too. So thank you very much for watching. I will see you in the next video, and bye for now.